Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. Gambling tycoon Atong Ang is suing security guard alias Totoy. This is in connection with a case of over 30 missing sabongeros and the so-called whistleblower's testimony that a very influential personality is behind the disappearance.
And a victory for the environment. That's one reaction from advocacy groups now hailing the Supreme Court's recent ruling against the Davao-Samal Connector Bridge project.
And can the impeachment court have Vice President Sara Duterte's bank accounts opened? Former Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio says there are legal pathways to do so.
Umiikot siya and extorting money from those who he says or he threatens to name. The Department of Justice is taking the wrong lead if it will listen to this self-styled self-state witness.
Here's an exclusive revelation from the lawyer of business tycoon Atong Ang to 1PH and News 5 anchor Cheryl Cosim. Attorney Lorna Capunan says alias Totoy, supposed whistleblower in the missing sabongeros case, made an offer to her client, 300 million pesos, or his name will be linked to the case. Now the gambling magnate's camp is taking Totoy to court. Mobile journal Merimon Reyes with tonight's big story.
In a text message to News 5, business mogul Atong Ang revealed he will file complaints on Thursday, July 3 against alias Totoy. Totoy is one of the suspects in the missing sabongeros case who wants to turn state witness. According to the so-called whistleblower, 30 of the missing cockfight enthusiasts from Manila Arena have been dead for 4 years and have long been buried in Taal Lake in Batangas. Totoy likewise said there are people of power behind the massive disappearance. But in an interview with 1PH and News 5 anchor Cheryl Cosim, Atong Ang's legal counsel, Lorna Capunan, claimed Totoy approached her client. Totoy allegedly assured Ang he won't be name-dropped as one of the influential personalities in his testimony in exchange for 300 million pesos.
Umiikot siya and extorting money from those who he says or he threatens to name. He will use the money to keep quiet. He already has fake passports. He already has fake visas, and they will escape.
Paano nangyari yung extortion? Nagkita ba sila? Nag-usap ba sila?
We have evidence. We will show in due course, in the case that we are going to file, the exchange of evidence, the exchange of text to attest, to affirm the extortions.
Aside from extortion, the gambling industry tycoon and businessman will also charge Totoy with attempted robbery and attempted homicide. Ang's camp also warned the Department of Justice that Totoy has no credibility and had only been freed on bail from sexual harassment and murder cases. And based on their knowledge, only Totoy had direct access to the sabongeros.
Before it was banned by then President Duterte, online cockfighting was legal. But when it was banned, they removed themselves from the business. So during that time, kasi hindi naintindihan ng public maraming levels yan Yung may direct contact sa mga sabongero, etc., is this state witness. And his board of directors, because meron silang foundation. Kasama dyan yung tinatawag ng ibang celebrities. Some in the movies industry, but one of them is the chair of Philippine Charity Sweepstakes now. Another one, they have their legitimate businesses. So it is absurd yung sinasabi nitong state witness, alleged state witness, na nagmi-meet daw ang board of directors, ang claim niya, to determine how many people will be killed. Absurd.
Capunan reminds the Justice Department that they cannot consider the most guilty as state witness.
The Department of Justice is taking the wrong lead if it will listen to this self-styled self-state witness. So hintayin nila, this state witness, this legitimate state witness will point to this Totoy as the real perpetrator.
Earlier, 4 of 6 security guards who have been identified as suspects in the kidnapping and illegal detention of the missing sabongeros took to social media. That's after the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group put out a 1 million peso reward for leads to their capture. Mark Zabala, Roberto Matiliano, John Reconsolacion and Virgilio Bayug has displayed to their former head of security alias Totoy.
Hindi lang po si alias Totoy yung pakinggan nyo kasi isa din po kami sa mga biktima. Dapat malaman din po yung katotohanan.
In a Facebook Live, the four said they hid in a village in Parañaque after they were first charged with kidnapping and serious illegal detention in 2022. They paid off 3 million pesos each to stay free, even temporarily. But just this year in January, the Court of Appeals reversed their bail and ordered the Manila Regional Trial Court Branch 40 to reissue warrants of arrest against the guards. The four insisted they were just in-house security guards at Manila Arena who had no choice but to follow Totoy because they feared for their lives. In fact, they said Totoy even ran for mayor in his town in Surigao del Sur, but he didn't win.
May sariling bodyguard po, may bullet rope, at saka may 2 resort, maraming bahay, at saka apartment po.
Isa po siyang malupit po, mas mainitin niya maulo, saka nananadyak po siya at malupit po sa mga trabaho po.
The four said they are submitting their affidavits to the Justice Department to explain in detail who alias Totoy really is and who the real mastermind is in the crime. Mobile journalist Mary Reyes, we are One News.
We now speak to Justice Undersecretary Rahul Vasquez in connection with this story. Good evening to you, Yusek.
Hi, good evening, Ces. Good evening sa inyo, Shawn, at saka Pauline.
All right, I'm not sure if you heard the interview with Attorney Lorna Capunan saying that the witness that has presented himself to the DOJ is actually the most guilty and should be charged.
We haven't heard anything about that, but everything is under case build-up.
Mm-hmm. May you tell us if he is in the custody, alias Totoy, if he is in the custody of the DOJ or under the protection of the DOJ?
That is a live investigation. We cannot comment on that.
But he is cooperating with the agency?
We approach some people and we got information. That's why we are subjecting everything to case build-up.
Mm-hmm.
But does he have an affidavit submitted already to the Justice Department, Yusek?
That's a live investigation. We cannot comment.
What can you tell us?
That's the problem because this is a live investigation. We don't want to put anybody under scrutiny unduly because we want this thing to be supported by proper pieces of evidence and not just be tried on the media because we won't be litigating this anyway before the media. It would have to be the courts.
Well,
so
we do understand.
We have to be very sure. We have to make sure that only when there are the necessary pieces of evidence and the degree of proof needed would be overcome, that we will file the cases, if ever.
Yes, I was saying we do understand that you want to build an airtight case before you present it to the courts and to the media. However, it looks like there is a battle brewing in the media. We have the security guards posting on social media, pointing to alias Totoy as the culprit. And we also have, we understand, a libel case that will be filed by Atong Ang versus alias Totoy tomorrow. If the allegation is that he tried to extort 300 million from Atong Ang, and if he is not given this money, he will link him to the case. So does this make if ever alias Totoy becomes a state witness, the fact that he tried to extort money, does he make him less credible?
That is speculative, Ces, no? We cannot delve into speculation, especially in the middle of fact-finding investigations and verification of information. Raw data lahat kasi yan eh. And everything that they're also saying, those are mere allegations, and allegations are not evidence. So that's how it is. You expect all of these matters to be presented, and we would be swamped with all this information. And it's up to the law enforcement agencies whom we have tasked to help us out in the investigation side to determine which one would be more credible and supported by the pieces of evidence. Apart from yung testimonial evidence nila, if the real evidence could be presented, corroborative evidence, real evidence, and so on and so forth. Yan ang purpose ng case build-up.
All right, this libel case that is going to be filed tomorrow, supposedly, does it throw a monkey wrench into your investigation?
No.
How so?
Because it's just one of the legal developments that would be expected. I think that's part of the legal strategy of whoever would be involved, if they are involved. And in fact, but as of now, if they feel alluded to, then that would be their problem.
Okay, Yusek, I just want to take a step back, and tell us when you started really looking into this into the missing sabongeros, when you started this formal case build-up. Was it only upon the first expose, so to speak, of alias Totoy, dun lang ba nag-start, or has it been ongoing and that testimony kind of, parang binuhay niya ulit or nabigyan ng bagong buhay?
No. Let me state it yung context. This case had been pending for 3-4 years.
Correct.
And we never let go of the case. We stood our ground. We stayed the course. Initially many cases were filed, but later on many withdrew. The complainants withdrew, but there were some who continued on with the case. That is the reason why there are pending cases that are being now heard. That's the case that led to the warrant, the kidnapping cases. So that means to say that these are live cases, and whenever there would be subsequent events, just like this one, that would appear to strengthen the prosecution, then that's the time that a deeper and more comprehensive fact-finding investigation would have to be conducted to really ferret out the truth.
And Yusek, if I may ask, how confident is the DOJ with the credibility of alias Totoy, and have other witnesses come forward already to help in this case?
Credibility-wise kasi, if you come to think about it, it all depends on the pieces of evidence or information given. The fact that there appears to be pieces of evidence that coincide with certain assumptions, it would bolster yung theory of the prosecution. So it's a question of building up the case to a point where the prosecution would be very confident about our case. And the fact that the cases were filed, says Shawn and Pauline, is an indication that indeed this process went through the entire legal process. The panel of prosecutors assessed the pieces of evidence presented thus far and found that there is prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction necessary to support a prosecution. All the more that somebody supposedly in the know came out of the woodworks and now present an additional angle to all of these matters. So it's a good help. It's a great help to the prosecution.
Are you close to having an airtight case?
Close?
Yes.
Yes.
even if you do not find the remains of the missing sabongeros in Taal Lake?
That's a good question, because if you don't find the body of the crime, kaya nga hanggang the present case is just kidnapping as of now. It's not murder, it's not homicide, because there is no evidence that they are dead, except for the information now of this so-called whistleblower. So we are trying to piece up all these little bits of information. Says no, we are not taking anything at face value. We have to be very sure with our pieces of evidence, because in the same manner that we want to prosecute those who may have committed this dastardly, egregious crime with impunity, we have to make sure also that no one would be unduly held to court, or reputations, lives.
But we do understand
It's not an easy thing.
that the whistleblower has video, and this was revealed by Secretary Remulla himself.
Well, as I said, this is a live investigation, Ces. So we cannot comment on the details, specific details, because these are all cross-check.
We thank you for your time, Justice Undersecretary Rahul Vasquez. And at this point, we now speak to Attorney Lorna Capunan, Legal Counsel to businessman Atong Ang. Good evening to you, Attorney. Welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening to you, Ces, and to your co-hosts, and to The Big Story.
We do understand that Atong Ang will be filing a libel case against the whistleblower tomorrow.
Well, not a libel case, no. He will file a case of grave coercion, of slander, and two other things, no.
Extortion, attorney? Is extortion one of them?
Extortion is one of them, and we have evidence. But let me just put this in context, no, because this sabongero issue has been a cold case for the last 4 or 5 years, and charged here were those, because to understand it, there are 3 levels of operations, no. There's the level of those who really deal with the sabongeros, no, online, no, and then there's a second tier. Those who manage the properties, and the level of Atong Ang is in the level of the board of directors, and he has a legitimate board of directors, and among the members of the boards are reputable businessmen. Of course, you mentioned one celebrity is known here, no, Gretchen, and then even the
Gretchen
chairperson.
Sorry, may Gretchen ho dito.
Barreto.
Attorney.
Barreto, right?
Have to
Hi,
specify which Gretchen.
Well, anyway, Gretchen the actress, no? Barreto, yes. And like chairman of the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes, so they're reputable businessmen. One of the things being mentioned was by this whistleblower. Incidentally, just to give you a profile of who this whistleblower is. This whistleblower has several charges pending against him. The first, one of them is he was a security guard for a security company and was charged with sexual harassment. And so the security company got rid of him. And then several other incidents, he was charged with murder, etc. And this will be laid out tomorrow when we file the complaint. And he has been able to get away with it, including robbery. And so, yes.
How do you think he gets away with it, attorney? Do you think may padrino siya? May someone big supporting him? Or he's just maabilidad?
I don't want to surmise, no, because he's maabilidad because apparently upon diligent search, he had maintained this whistleblower London apart from being hired a security person and in charge of the admin at that level, no, at the lowest level,
His name is
he-
Don Don.
his name is Julie Patidongan or Don
Julie.
Don. Yes, we're also going to charge against someone else. His name is Alan Bantiles or Brown. Both of them are have acted in conspiracy. Don Don is now charged at in Manila in a Manila court for this pending case, no, where he wants to be a whistleblower. But by definition of a whistleblower should be the least guilty. And it would appear from what we have unearthed, upon diligent discovery, that he is the most guilty. Because all of the people who are missing, or all of the people illegally detained, or the people who are suspected by the families to have been eliminated, he was the one in charge, directly in charge of all of these people. Why does, after 4 or 5 years, why does he surface? And that is why we are filing the case. He has contacted Atong Ang and the members of the board. And this is a company that has a foundation. But it's like charity work, especially during the COVID. He has contacted, and we have screenshots of the exchange of telephone messages and between him, this Brown, and several others, asking extorting the amount of 300 million.
When was this,
From him.
attorney?
This is as recent as 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago.
So after he made his initial expose, si alias
Yes.
Totoy. Okay.
That is why the Secretary of Justice is saying there is no sworn statement, because he is holding this sworn statement where he claims that he will reveal all of the masterminds. No, he is holding them in abeyance because he is talking to all the members of the board and extorting
And you're
money.
saying that if he is successful, then he will just withdraw his offer of testimony to the DOJ. Is this what you're saying, attorney?
Yes, he has said in no uncertain terms that he will use the money. Well, he will parang snowflake effect ba? Pag hindi ka nagbigay, hindi ko i-snowflake yung pangalan mo. And he has approached not only Atong Ang but other reputable members of the
Attorney, can you
board.
confirm that the amount he was asking for was 300 million pesos?
It's 300 million pesos.
Attorney, did
Yes.
your clients and meaning Atong Ang as well as his colleagues, yung other board members, nakita ba nila yung affidavit? Because syempre kung sisingilin sila ng 300 million, di naman nila alam ano yung hawak niya. So were they given a chance to see what's in his affidavit or his sworn statement?
No, precisely. This is trial by publicity. And that is why, to put it in context, Atong Ang here, Sir Atong Ang, the members of that board, incidentally, they are no longer in online ever since it was declared, soon as it was declared illegal by then President Duterte. They had ceased online gambling operations. All their activities in gaming are legitimate. They pay taxes, they hire employees, etc., etc. In other words, all above board.
Do you represent Atong Ang only or the entire board?
No, all the members of the individual members of the board have their own respective lawyers.
So only Atong Ang.
I only represent Atong Ang, but the collective decision of the board was to sue this person because he will use the money precisely. He has said, and this is recorded in the cell phone of Sir Atong Ang. This is recorded, and he has said he will use the money to disappear from the face of the earth, to escape.
Can you
I
tell
think
us, attorney?
the other reason he has been able to get out of all the previous charges against him is he has been able, in cahoots with certain people in high places, been able to fake his passport and visas, and he's claiming that he already has a visa ready to flee to other countries.
How did he
So-
reach out po to Atong? Was it a text message? Was it a phone call? Pinuntahan niya sa office?
These are actual phone calls.
Okay.
But let's backtrack a bit, attorney. You're saying this is a cold case. This happened 4 years ago. Why then,
Yes.
at that time, did your client, Atong Ang, not cooperate with the investigation and pinpoint this Julie, this Dondon?
Well, there was no reason to. It would all have been speculation. As a matter of fact, the first time that his name is coming out now is precisely because this alleged self-styled whistleblower is in need of money. And that is why he is holding in abeyance the filing of a sworn statement. In the Manila case, the lawyer handling the Manila case has already intimated to us that one of the accused there will be a legitimate whistleblower who has been interviewed by us as well. No, not by us, but by that lawyer handling the case, who will point to this Dondon as the one responsible. Not the one responsible. Operationally and logistically, all the people around him or the people who have disappeared were under his supervision. These are security guards. And as it turns out, this Dondon had separate operations. He had parallel operations. He had hired his own people who did his own bidding. He had made money. He had made money on his own. That is why he had enough money to run for mayor. He ran for mayor from.
I understand he almost won.
Well, yes. I don't know that for a fact, but there was no reason then to distrust him.
But
As a matter
attorney,
of fact,
you know,
yes.
you're referring to a trial by publicity. Atong Ang's name has not come out in publications. His name may have been mentioned in the course of asking questions of Justice Secretary Remulla, but he has not been pinpointed.
Precisely, that is why our advice to him is you have to come out. Because all of this is there is so much great reliance. We are, Ces, you know me. We are always on the side of what is right. And to me, it is wrong. It is wrong that the Department of Justice, the NBI, and in fact, the Secretary has even said that he would go all the way to the Supreme Court to aid in the investigation of this case. But precisely, our advice to Atong Ang is to come forth. Show help. Let's help these families of the victims come out with the truth.
Bakit hindi 4 years ago pa, attorney? You know, I mean, he had direct responsibility. He was running it. He had a board.
No, he had no direct responsibility. Precisely, one must understand the nature of the business. No, there are 3 levels.
Even then, as owner, I mean, by command responsibility.
No, precisely. Okay, precisely. He, in fact, this accused in Manila, he had trusted them. They were his own bodyguards. This guy, this whistleblower, was a trusted person. He had saved him from his unemployment, and apparently this guy had performed well in administering the buildings and the management of the operations at that level.
So, empleyado siya ni Atong before?
He was trusted. He was security guard. No, in fact, he had hired his own brothers, as security guard of Sir Atong Ang. And so it is why did he not help? Because they were trusted people. As a matter of fact, the lawyer assisting them now was provided by Atong Ang. But now that it is becoming evident from his own threats, his own admissions, and the people around him are saying, siya yun, siya yun, siya yun. So, why, says to your point, no, why not 4 years ago, why not now?
Nakakapagtaka lang na parang 3 years, 4 years passed before Atong Ang is coming out.
Because
hindi man lang siya tumulong sa disappearances ng mga tao connected to his business. It is a bit mind-boggling, to tell you honestly.
Yes, well, it really is. Even to me, before I heard the whole story on this, how can people disappear from the face of the earth? The fact of the matter is, they just disappeared. And as it's turning out from the people now who are saying magsasalita na sila, no? His co-accused are saying in the case, are pointing to him. And now he is also, and now this whistleblower is admitting that all of these people were, and the people who have been seen at the material times, no, that of the disappearance were his people. As I said, he had a parallel group who was doing his own bidding, and these were not employees of the company, these were not employees of the board. This was his own parallel group who were doing his bidding, and it's coming out now. Why not 4 years ago? Because it was not evident 4 years ago.
So you're saying, attorney, that Atong Ang had no knowledge that itong ang si alias Totoy is running a parallel group with their own rackets?
Well, I don't know if he had. Yeah, well, yes. The short answer is yes. It's only becoming evident now because the co-accused, and I don't want to preempt the lawyer of the Manila case, but that will be presented in evidence when they will come out. When one of the co-accused, or 2 or 3 of the co-accused there, together with this alleged self-styled whistleblower, will come out with their own version of the case. Why did they not speak before? Because of threats. Because precisely, itong complaint affidavit will have also grave coercion. That his people are still around and binabantayan siya, that type of thing. And it's not only about money, it's threat to his life. That's why there is grave threats, grave coercion, there's extortion, and there's false, oral slander. No?
One final question for me, attorney. We just had a DOJ and they said they are close to having an airtight case. With your revelations earlier, attorney, is Mr. Atong Ang also willing to cooperate and aid the investigation of the Justice Department?
That precisely is the nature of our legal assistance. Reason we accepted Atong Ang is because he has said, and the whole board has said, that they will fully cooperate with the investigation.
And this
because
is voluntary?
I think yes, because the Department of Justice is being misled. Is being misled by a whistleblower who is spouting false accusations, who's spouting lies, and we have apparently recordings attesting to the fact that he is extorting, and he's saying that I will charge you all one by one if you don't give me money. And the other lawyers, the other members of the board who will be represented by their own separate lawyers will be filing, will also file similar cases. Now, to your question of will Atong Ang and the board and cooperate, the answer is yes. He will cooperate. Whatever it is an open book. Will be an open book.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Lorna Capunan, lawyer to businessman and gambling industry tycoon Atong Ang. Thank you for your time.
We're just going to take a quick break, but we have more stories for you right after this break. Keep it here on The Big Story.
Welcome back to The Big Story. Environmental groups welcomed the recent issuance of a writ of kalikasan over the construction of the Davao-Samal Connector Bridge project. In a collective statement, Apila, Grey Juris, and Icoteneo said the Supreme Court's ruling sends a strong signal that no development, no matter how grand or well-funded, is above the law.
In a landmark decision on July 1st, the High Tribunal issued a writ of kalikasan against proponents of the project. These include the DPWH, the DENR, the Samal Island Protected Landscape and Seascape Protected Area Management Board, and the China Road and Bridge Corporation, which is funding the construction. Last April, environmental advocates Carmela Santos, Mark Peñalver, and the Sustainable Davao Movement filed a petition claiming the project would cause serious and irreversible damage to protected areas. These include Paradise Reef on Samal Island and the Hizon Marine Protected Area in Davao City. The Supreme Court also gave the proponents 10 days to justify the construction of the bridge. The DPWH, however, said that the project will continue until they receive the SC's order.
So far sa ngayon, wala pa tayo, hindi pa natin natatanggap yung writ. No? So long as wala pang order coming from the court for us to suspend our operations, then we will continue with the project.
Some residents of Davao City and Samal Island say they want the bridge built. Vice President Sara Duterte, who is aware of the opposition to the bridge project, highlighted its importance. The bridge is seen to cut down travel time from Davao City to Samal Island to just 5 minutes.
Mas madali kasi siya pag may bridge, unlike this time, no, nag-aantay pa kami ng barge na darating.
Depende na yan, no, kung ano ang desisyon ng Supreme Court, pero sana ay makita ng lahat, hindi lang ng ating mga huwes, kundi ng buong komunidad na napakalaki ng tulong na ang Davao-Samal Bridge sa ekonomiya ng Davao City at ng Samal City.
And we now have on the show Carmela Santos. She's the outgoing director of Icoteneo and co-secretariat of Sustainable Davao Movement, one of the petitioners for the writ of kalikasan. Good evening, Carmela. May we call you Carmela? And welcome to the Big Story.
Yes, good evening.
Well,
thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having. The Supreme Court has referred the issuance of a TEPO or temporary environmental protection order to the Court of Appeals. So it's somehow not quite that win yet. Would you clarify?
Yes, this is just an initial win. It just means that we are still waiting and hoping for that TEPO to be released by the court in Cagayan de Oro.
What happens in the interim though, Carmela? I understand parang, and correct me if I'm wrong, parang both sides will have their chance to present, the pros and the cons of this bridge, so to speak.
In the interim, we are hoping that when DPWH has said that when they receive their copy, then they will suspend activities. And then the prayer for a TEPO, which was referred to the Court of Appeals in Cagayan de Oro, once granted, it would temporarily stop the construction until the court can evaluate the case more fully. So we need this TEPO so that the court will be given the time and all parties will be given the time to present their sides.
Well, Carmela, you did cite the death of coral reefs in areas like Paradise Reef and Hizon Marine Protected Area. Can you describe the current state? Is the damage really irreversible already at this point?
The reason why that term about being irreversible and irreparable came from the study by Dr. Filipina Soto. But if you're asking me about how the corals are, we have been monitoring since October 2022 until this year. you can really see the changes. We're talking of table corals that are decades considered centennial table corals. So we do not see how you can recover. Well, corals are called rainforests of the sea. So we do not see how those ecosystems can be recovered, even if DNR would say, okay, we will rehabilitate. But can you rehabilitate a rainforest by planting trees? We're talking about the actual marine ecosystem. So what have we noticed? We have noticed already algae covering those corals, which were very vibrant and alive in the late quarter of 2022. We have noticed the absence of fish in the area. It's a nursery. Now before there used to be like it used to look like a highway of fish in that area. So there's none of that. Everywhere you turn looks like, sorry if I'm being a little emotional, I can still recall my last dive. Everywhere you turn looks like the pictures that you see at West Philippine Sea. When they show pictures of how the corals in that area look like, it looks like that.
Like dead. Dead.
Not just like dead, really dead. As dead as stones or construction
Parang
debris.
their color white na lang, no?
So
Parang
sad.
Gray. It's gray.
Gray, yeah. Carmela,
It's
can
gray.
you paint us a picture, no? Because we haven't been underwater in that area. Gaano kalaki ba at gaano karaming corals yung affected? I understand these are two separate marine protected areas on either side. One on the Davao side, one on the Samal side.
I've snorkeled.
Okay.
Is this near the garden? Carmela, malapit ba to sa Coral Garden? No,
The Coral Garden is a part of it. The Coral Garden is a part of the 7,500 square meter Paradise Reef. But really, when you talk about the area where the ongoing construction of the Greenway is, that one plus the Paradise Reef is about 15,000 square meters. So we're talking about 1.5 hectares on the side of Samal and almost 3 hectares on the side of Barangay Hizon. We're talking about numbers, 79 species of corals, hundreds of species of fish, at least for Paradise. Also about the same numbers in Hizon. And if you must recall, if you read the petition, the Hizon MPA is also cited as one of the top 3 most productive MPAs along the Davao side of Davao Gulf. So it's a lot. And if we're talking about numbers, 67,000 plus fisher folks rely on the Davao Gulf. And it's very important that where the spawning grounds and nursery are not disturbed. Kasi ito yung pinanggagalingan ng mga yung isdang hinuhuli, yung kinakain nila dito nanggagaling sa mga reef areas na to.
But Carmela, correct me if I'm wrong, the petitioners are not against the development, but you are pushing for realignment. So is there really a responsible way that we can connect Davao and Samal? Because the residents are pushing for this to be built because it would help reduce their travel time.
Thank you. We've always said from the beginning that we are not against a bridge. We are just asking why there, and we are questioning the way they're doing it. There was a study by Japan in 2016. In fact, it was in the Samal webpage, the 2016 Japan identified area in the Central Corridor. The alignment right now is at the Southern Corridor. At the Central Corridor, which is much shorter, it's only about 2.6 kilometers, no, yung distance from Davao to Samal, and it's only 16 billion pesos as compared to the 23 billion peso SIDC bridge. So again, we're not against the bridge. What we're saying is,
bakit ganito yung design?
Sana kung saan ilalagay at bakit dyan ilalagay?
Bakit nga?
Dyan? Why there?
Why was the ECC granted by the DNR at the time?
It was December 17, 2020. Actually, it was also during the pandemic, you notice. There are more questions than answers. It's so difficult to marites the answers, but people in the know who know. That's all I can say.
Okay, ayaw naming na masali ka pa sa libel or ano, but we will
Yes, but
dig up the story, well, pandemic, and then I believe at that time, to put the situation in context, there was a rush to get China ODA. This is a China ODA. It's not a grant. We're still paying for it. So there was a mad rush, di ba? Parang ilang bridges yun na dapat itayo during Duterte's administration, President Duterte's
Yes.
administration. So this was
Yes.
one of those.
yes. Yes.
Okay, is it too late? Is it too late
Too late to?
to
Too late
To
to save the
realign
dead
it.
corals, yes.
Too late to realign because ang sabi nga nung regional director ng DPWH dyan sa Davao is almost 40% complete, 38.08% if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, mukha nang ang bridge yung...
Hindi, yun yung staging
Oh,
area.
yung staging area,
Yung
mukhang
staging
mukhang tulay na eh.
Pwede nang tawiran.
Oo, nagiging emotional din tayo kasi parang we are so bothered. So is it too late? I repeat my question.
Okay,
To mitigate
I want to
or to
answer.
redesign?
It's not too late if you only just go to the original plan, which is better studied. Second, I just want to comment on what DPWH says. It's so difficult to trust the numbers that they give. In fact, they gave an interview first quarter of the year. Wala pang ang 10% yung construction at that time because they're just constructing the craneway. This is not yet the bridge. And the earlier years, in 2022, 2023, they keep insisting na wala daw corals dyan sa area na yan. So, you know, it's self-serving statements na hindi factual eh. So, is it too late? The Supreme Court just gave us the chance to review it again. So, I believe it's not too late.
Well, congratulations. We actually took the wind out of your sails by starting with, well, it's just a slight win. But oo nga eh. Sorry, we didn't give you the opportunity to at least show your appreciation. So maybe in closing, what is the meaning of this landmark decision of the Supreme Court to those who are fighting for the environment like you?
It means a lot to us because, and this is where I will, try to manage my emotions. Because it means lending voices to corals, marine life, and the local communities and the fisher folks who are part of this, but they're afraid to be named. They are the ones who are directly affected. It means a lot that the law is still on our side. It means a lot that, we're entering COP30 already in climate discussions that never seem to, become climate action. It means a lot that finally people are listening. Finally, it's been a long journey. It's a really long journey. If you read the petition, we have tried to talk to all levels really. Barangay, city, except of course the City Council of Samal because they're promoting it. We've talked to the Senate, we've talked to everybody we could talk to. So finally the Supreme Court gives us this breather and tells us that basically it gives us a chance to share the side of the story of Davao Gulf. And it's not just Davao Gulf. When we start talking about this case, as you said, a lot of things you will find out and discover for yourselves. It's really more than just the corals and the marine life in Davao Gulf. You will, actually right now, many things are coming out. A lot of people have been looking up the CRBC, the Chinese company contracted for this project, and they have been finding out that they do have a poor track record of environmental care and respect. So we hope that this will be a standard that when we do infrastructure, we also do our, what's the term? We will do our
Due diligence.
Due diligence. Let's do some backup konting ano lang yan, konting scroll.
Well, we thank you so
And
much.
look up sa Google. Itong companies ba to na kinukuha natin? Anong track record nila?
Oh. May bahid siguro ng corruption din. Have you unearthed that?
We cannot imagine that it isn't there.
We thank you for your time and we wish you the best of luck. You are still going to be with Ateneo even as you leave Ecoteneo, which is, sorry, a bit of a tongue twister.
No, I am still part of Ecoteneo. My term just ended as Ecoteneo director, but I am still part of Ecoteneo and serving Sustainable Davao Movement.
Maraming salamat. That was Carmela Marie Santos of Ecoteneo and Sustainable Davao Movement.
We're going to be pausing for another very quick break, but we do
Not just in NAIA, but in airports in Catarman, General Santos, Cebu, and Davao as well. Among these are habal-habal or unregistered motorcycle taxis, including one that charged 350 pesos from NAIA Terminal 3 to Terminal 1.
I have personal knowledge. Of course, itong mga staff ko, may kanya-kanya din silang karanasan na nangungontrata talaga.
To minimize the need to pay for a ride just to move around terminals, there's now a free shuttle in NAIA. The Department of Transportation also ordered the airport's private operator to put up bus stop signages.
We are operating based on a complaint and we have prior informations na itong taxi na to nangungontrata talaga. At nagpasalamat na rin ako dyan sa mga barker at saka yung mga kapwa taxi driver na nagsusumbong sa amin. Kaya may konting intelligence information ito na binibigay namin po sa LTO.
On to another story. Among the articles of impeachment, Vice President Sara Duterte is being charged with are misuse and malversation of confidential funds, amassing unexplained wealth, and failure to disclose assets in her statement of assets and liabilities. Now, key evidence to prove these are the Vice President's bank accounts. But access to these will have to hurdle legal and political obstacles. Former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio believes that the House prosecution will move to subpoena Duterte's accounts. They can do so during an impeachment trial, but it is up to Senator judges to allow it or not. And what happens then if it is denied? Carpio says the ombudsman is the key. Under the SALN law, there is a provision that authorizes the ombudsman to verify the assets and liabilities of the official. But this can only happen if the current impeachment case is dismissed.
Under the bank secrecy law, bank deposits are absolutely confidential, but there are exceptions. One, when there's a written consent by the depositor, and second, in case of impeachment, and third, when there is a bribery case before the competent court. So in this case, there's an impeachment case, and so the impeachment court can grant requests for subpoena duces tecum from the prosecution and order the bank to disclose the records. The Ombudsman Charter says that the Ombudsman can investigate impeachable officers for the purpose of filing an impeachment complaint. The Ombudsman now can request the AMLAC, the Anti-Money Laundering Council, for the bank records.
Current Ombudsman Samuel Martirez, who is a Duterte appointee, is stepping down this July. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla has expressed interest in applying for the position. As for moves to dismiss the impeachment complaint, Carpio reiterated that the Senate Impeachment Court cannot entertain such a motion. Carpio says the Constitution is clear that the Senate cannot dismiss an impeachment case without a trial.
The Constitution says once the articles of impeachment are received by the Senate, trial shall proceed forthwith. Now, yung motion to dismiss, hindi, that will not result in a trial. Kailangan trial. So I think, in my opinion, the Senate cannot entertain a motion to dismiss because the obligation, the duty of the impeachment court is to proceed to trial forthwith.
And for our big picture tonight, a loss that's actually still a win for the Philippines. Filipino tennis ace Alex Ayala fell short in her Wimbledon debut, bowing to defending champion Barbora Krejcikova in 3 sets. Momentum was on Ayala in the opening frame, 6-3, before Krejcikova pulled away in the second and third sets, 2-6 and 1-6. But Ayala's loss does not spell the end for her blossoming career. In fact, it has just begun. She now shifts to women's doubles with German partner Eva Lise. They face Olga Danilovic and Anastasia Potapova in the first round on Wednesday.
Wow.
Still an incredible performance by Alex Ayala. We're so
And she
proud.
was praised by her opponent.
Yes! At the end, sabi niya, all credit goes to Alex because she really gave me a difficult first. And that, her sampagita hair tie!
And next, ang sabi niya, she belongs to the next generation of champions.
And who knows, maybe in the doubles they'll win because that's actually how Alex made a mark in tennis. In the Junior Australian Open. That's where she won her first title in a doubles category.
This was nung COVID time, di ba?
Actually, before COVID pa.
Before COVID pa.
She was very young back then. Okay, so...
And not that she's old
now.
now.
Not that she's old.
All of 20 lang.
Pero at least hindi na siya teenager.
The world is at her feet.
Yes, so exciting.
All right, but with that, that's it for the big story this Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for watching.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
We'll be back here tomorrow, 7:30. See you then. Have a good night, everyone.